Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, and I am chilling out, and I'm gonna be painting up some Goregruntas, the ones I already had primed, and then the ones we built yesterday, got those primed as well. And so we're gonna be starting on the fur, which I am very excited to do with my contrast paints, because contrast and fur are meant to go together. They are like peas and carrots, man. It's amazing. So let's go to the downward cam here. And I'll move my light so everyone can actually see what I'm doing. Let me scoot this little thing this way. All right, there we go. So, as the chat is filling up, go ahead and say hi. Tell me what you're working on tonight. I got 6 Goregruntas here. And the first step is really simple. I'm just going to do the skin on all of them. They're all going to be... Fire Slayer Flesh is actually my favorite contrast when it comes to skin colors. So, got these nice little dropper bottle things in there. And I got a big old brush for big open spaces. Good morning to you, Mr. SB Plays. What's up, what's up? The nice thing about the Fire Slayer Flesh is it's a very like not intense color. So you can actually be a little sloppy with it, and then when you go to the fur around it later on, it won't look super bad all of a sudden. Painting a Primaris Librarian in Phobos on her. Which armor is Phobos? I don't know. Is that the new one, like where it's kind of like scout armor? Or came out with this Vanguard guys? Either way, awesome. I can't keep up with all the different kinds of armor. Okay, yeah, the one with Shadow Spear, that's what I was thinking of. I got 3 of these Goregruntas from like a used miniature dealer, and they're okay. They're not built the greatest, but I also know that I'm not really that great at building models, so it's like, it's acceptable. Just got to paint around some areas to draw the eye away from them. But that's the worst. That's all right. All right. So, let's see. From Shadow Spear. I'm trying to think. Shadow Spear. That's, I think that one came out with a bunch of, Chaos dudes too that look pretty cool. I had this brief moment of being tempted to go with an undivided chaos thing in Chaos Space Marines. I was like, no, you don't play 40k enough to warrant your typical army swapping thing. It's like, just stick with the Plague Marines, they'll be just fine. And luckily I have that excuse when it comes to 40k. I can just always be like, am I really going to play with this? Whereas in AOS, it's like, yeah, I'll play with it a few games, for sure. Worth it. Let's see. What's up, Doug? Hobby motivation is needed tonight. Good to see you. Oh, well, grab a brush. Let's paint along. We can chat. What's killing your motivation, friend? Always happy to try and motivate folks. This is on my phone, but I can't find this on my computer. That's strange. Huh. A lot of orcs this week. The new book makes them yummy. Yeah, I'm so excited for this army. There's an event coming up on the 19th, and I'm just beyond excited to go to, which I haven't been excited to go to a specific event in quite a while. That's a big deal for me. I mean, like Nova, but that was like a convention. I mean, like a local tournament. I should clarify, like a specific game event that I was excited to go to. Like it. So basically what I'm going to do is do all of the contrast stuff on the fur, because I love contrast in fur. It's the best thing ever. And then I'm going to basically from there go back and then paint the rider with the same scheme and the same kind of painting method. I couldn't find any kind of way to do that different that I wanted to try, because like the next best thing, if I ever wanted to use contrast to do that armor scheme, you kind of have to do it kind of like how they do like the tutorial, like Primaris Space Marine type thing, that kind of blue. And I don't think that looks great. I mean, the blue's fine. It's just the brutes riding the back of the pigs have these big flat panels, and contrast does not do well on big flat panels. Let's see. Valgrand, how are you? I'm going well. Just sitting down to do some painting. I actually had, unexpectedly had the day off. I went into work and we're having some inventory issues that were not our problem, it's the manufacturer's problem. And so basically, I was like, well, normally I have Fridays off. I will go home today and work on videos, and I will come in on Friday. So it's the second week I've had to do that. It's very abnormal, but my bosses are so great, they don't ask a whole lot of me. So ended up coming home, taking a little nap, and then working on my Cities of Gear and video. So that goes live tomorrow morning. Let's see. 3 feet of snow is killing motivation. Oh no, I love snow. I miss big swaths of snow when I lived in Iowa. Let's see. Just a long day, having trouble with the skin on the Alapex. Interesting. I don't think I've seen a fully painted Alapex like in person, because we don't have a lot of Deepkin players locally. And the ones we do, they don't stray too far outside the eel list, from what I understand. But they do kind of that light gray, like great white shark style thing, I think. I can see that being hard, especially because it's so smooth. Let's see. Going hog, yep, hog wild on some Goregruntas. Throwing the paint down. And now I'm just getting all the skin. The legs are kind of annoying just because there's weird little patches of skin on and around them. But this is my first time painting a Goregrunta. They're awesome models. Like because I never owned any before, I was always like, oh yeah, a full Goregrunta list. It sounds cool, you know. And I would have a local guy, Evan, he runs one, and I was like, oh, that's cool, it's cool, it's cool. But I hadn't really checked out the models for myself, and these things are awesome looking. Just looking awesome. Let's see. They have weapon choices. Yes, they have the little hand weapons that this guy's holding. There's the axe. And they also have kind of like basically it's like a lance, but it's think of like a pole arm with scrap metal on the end to just ram into you. That's basically what it looks like, and it's awesome looking. And really what you're trading off is like, I think it's like you trade off one attack for a 2-inch range instead of a 1-inch range, what these guys have. And there's a lot of back and forth about the efficiency of that. And basically it's, if you're taking large units, typically the pole arm thing is better because you can get more attacks in because people can reach over each other. But for me, I'm looking at least with these 6 going minimum size squads. And so if there's only 3, yeah, they can generally. I'll get in. Sorry, I have a hiccup. Let's see. Next, I'm gonna trying to nail a sand shark look. Ooh, that's cool. Sand shark. I like the sound of it. I'm just kind of imagining in my head, which I know is great audio, but imagining in my head what a sand shark is going to be. Pop Burnsy, what's that color? This is Fire Slayer Flesh contrast paint I'm throwing on the skin here. I love it. It's really good for dirty looking skin, so that's what I used for the Fire Slayer Underworld's warband I did, because it has this kind of grimy aspect to it. A little bit darker. Kind of makes it seem like it's been worn a bit. So it's easy to like add a little bit darker stuff to it and make it look like soot or whatever. And obviously wild animals and that kind of stuff, if they have bare skin, it makes it look really great because they are in fact wild animals. It's a nice shade. Oh, thank you. I like it. I'm trying to think. Gilman Flesh actually tends to be my favorite of the skin tones, but I wanted something a little bit more tanned, a little bit more gritty and darker for the Goregruntas. Painting up Plague Monks and the Screaming Bell. Let me move my mic closer to my face here. That'll probably help. Planning to go to Armies on Parade board. Sweet. I decided to take a pass on Armies on Parade this year, but I hope to get in next year with my fancy Maggotkin. I have that display board I talked about in the Deluge series, like the project blog thing, that I'm hoping to get. Because that army really, I mean, people were asking about it, shot me messages, were like, so are you done with the Maggotkin? Did you sell them? Because I want to buy them if you're selling them. And it's like, no, I'm not selling them. They're just when I started it, I guess I didn't clarify enough. Like, this is a long-term project, so they're going to be around for a while. It's way too much work to put the bases in and just kind of grind that out. It's a lot going on. Let's see. Have you switched mostly to contrast, or do you still use a lot of conventional methods? I use them both. So what I love doing, my favorite way to achieve painting, just not generally anymore, is doing contrast, and then if you can find some colors that highlight that contrast really well, I think that's the best looking thing. For the Maggotkin, I want them to be fancy, so I've kind of been doing more of the we'll say the classic method. But most things I think contrast can do, and I like the way it looks. But the key is, honestly, like I went down to the store. Whenever I buy a contrast paint, I hold it up next to the other paints there, like at the GW store, and I find something to highlight it with. Because I don't think contrast by itself looks great. I mean, it looks tabletop standard, and if you have a whole army of them, it looks awesome. Especially for those folks who never would have had a painted army without it. But I think that little extra step of just adding just a tinge of highlight, it goes so far. And the nice thing is that contrast, you can paint over it with Citadel base paints really well. Like it's not so intense pigment wise, like it bleeds through or anything stupid like that. And so it makes it very, very easy to, like, for this, like the helmet, I just got really messy, got it in the eye. It's all over the helmet thing that he's wearing, but I don't care because the blue that I put for the classic method of painting the armor is going to cover that up. Let's see. We got a small game store that did Warhammer events, declare it shutting down the end of October. What do you guys do as an antidote for shop closing and the Warhammer community affected? Is that your only store locally that does Warhammer stuff? That's a real bummer. Regardless, if it's the other stores or not. I'm just sad to see small businesses close. Let's see. I figured Gilman's was close enough to Reichland Fleshshade, so I snagged Dark Oath and Fire Slayer. Yeah, it does. It is pretty close. And in fact, I saw a tutorial once that used Gilman Flesh, the contrast, as a wash over gold, and I've been using that every single time since. I tried it once, and I was like, "This is amazing," and so I have been doing that. So, and that's what they used to do for Reichland Fleshshade. It was the ultimate wash for gold because you get that nice warm tone, and the warmth that you keep from Gilman Flesh is just amazing. So many stumpy little legs. Let's see. What are people discussing today? We are just chilling. No one's brought up a topic. If anyone has any things they want to talk about, go ahead and throw it in the chat. I didn't start this stream with anything in mind. Actually, I was originally going to hop on with Jack, and he actually had to step out. He's being a guest on a podcast tonight, so he might join us a little later if I'm still streaming when he's done. But yeah. Let's see. Eating people of Warhammer? Hello, hello. Do contrast paints work on regular white primer? Yes. However, there actually is a great picture chart somewhere, and I don't even know where it is to even tell you where to go, but some guy did the contrast paints on Corax White, Wraithbone, and a solid white, like the Corax White primer. And you can actually see the differences. They're generally subtle. But they don't make a massive amount of difference. I think for harsh colors like black and the Apothecary White, where they're very intense or light colors, that's kind of where you see it the most. But like Militarum Green still kind of looks like Militarum Green. Let's see. I've been talking a lot about the price point of 40k new battle box and what it means for the Sisters release. Oh, I don't know anything about that. I don't know what the price point is. What's the price for? I assume you mean the 40k new battle box. Yeah, I don't know. What's the price point for the new Eldar thing coming out? How much does that cost? And then what the Sisters is going to be. I'm curious. Let's see. What's everyone's least favorite model? Zombies. The zombie model is just atrocious. The laser baloney. Where should I start if I wanted to start reading AOS novels? I would start. They need like a starter bundle, so I can like just direct people there. But a great one to start with is Soul Wars by Josh Reynolds. And that'll pretty much get you, for the most part, caught up on the modern timeline. And also, if you want like a series of books that come right after each other, the Rumgate Wars has kind of more of a long-term narrative, and that might be a cool one to hop into. And that goes back in time a little bit, where we're kind of past those events like in the main story arc, but that's where you get kind of caught up with like what the different factions, most of the factions are, and get some general ideas of what the world's like. Let's see. Do you have any units not mentioned in the Free Cities book that you'd like to see added later? I want a cog fort, terrain piece, or unit or something. I don't know. I don't care if it's like a 1200 point Forge World thing, like the big corn dragon for corn. I don't care. I want a cog fort. Okay, last pigskin. Let's see. GW on the price increase again, like in 6th edition. Let's see. Is Big Red still alive? I can't remember. The soda? Yes. When I see skin tones look a lot better of a Wraithbone. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. If you want if you have organics, I find that Wraithbone tends to be a little bit better because it does have that warmer kind of base to it. But other stuff, it didn't really matter. Some stuff is, like does. I'm trying to think of an example, but I don't know. I keep buying this one honestly because for the most part, nobody else does, and there's always Gray Seer spray cans at all the local stores. And you start buying one, you're like, well, I gotta be consistent, so you gotta start buying other ones. So that's basically how it goes for me. I don't have a magic reason for choosing Corax White, not Corax, Gray Seer. Let's see, W. Soren, Doug, do you have any tips for recording your YouTube videos? Do you mean like hardware and software tips, or do you mean like how to build a channel or anything like that? That's a big old question. I think the most important thing is just being consistent in your uploads and adding value to people's hobby. Whether that's just talking while they paint like we're doing right now, or something that they're more actively interested in, like lore, where people are more actively tuned in for something specific. It's hard because when you ask that question, like there's a lot of my own personal biases built into that. So it's like I built the channel that I wanted to see, that I wish was online. I want people to talk about Age of Sigmar, and so I started doing that. But it's hard because not everyone is like me, so I don't want to give advice that's like, this is what you do, and it's like just not can do. I don't want everyone to look the same. So I don't know. I don't have any really great advice. It's just figure out what you really enjoy about the hobby and start talking about it. And I actually realized I just forgot every single one of these pigs' ears. So we're going to go right back and snag those. I don't know how I missed that. Let's see. Rumored at $230 for Blood of the Phoenix. But see, So here's the thing with the Blood of the Phoenix box, right? Is instead of looking at it as a $230 2-player starter set, from what I've seen on like the previews and junk, like that doesn't seem like what it is. It seems like it has 2 armies, but the stuff in it allows you to build like custom, I don't know, types of Eldar armies, which is different. I mean, it is functioning as an expansion at that point, right? So like, I don't know. Do I think that's a good price? No, not for models that are that age. They've been around for a while to cheapen them up just a smidge, but I think it'd be interesting if they introduced a new kind of product that was like, hey, let's just drop the facade of this being for new people. Clearly, our biggest target customer when we release new factions is people who already buy factions way too much, like Doug Griggs. And we just really added some value to those people who, already have those factions or were looking to get into it and want to do something cool and unique. I think it would require a different perspective, but I don't know. I'm not sure. That would be my understanding. That's my wild guess as to why the price is like that. Because that's crazy. Let's see. Sister should be around 200. Let's see. Both. I skipped ahead, so if I missed your question, go ahead and type question in all caps and then ask it again. I just fell behind the chat because y'all are being awesome and having conversations. I'm a finance professional, and I'm not asking about the content, just the technical side. Oh, yeah, sure. So basically, the way I do my videos is I have my video editing software, which is Wondershare Filmora, and just a webcam and a microphone. I record audio using the program Audacity, and I clean up the audio, throw it into my video editor along with some art, and then publish it to YouTube's with the little upload button thing. What else? That's basically it. This live streaming stuff is actually fairly new to me, but I do enjoy it. And this is just uses an OBS, a broadcasting software. So yeah. Question: how's the TV dinner pork chop painting going? It's good. Let's see. The box is pretty much the same as Bone Splitters versus Iron Jaws because both of the factions can be used in the same army. Sort of. I don't know. I don't know if I... Yeah, the big wah is a weird thing. I'm just reading the comments right now. I'm trying to think about that. Let's see. I feel like GW would jack up the price of the Sisters box on the pretext of a limited edition. Honestly, probably. I have no doubt that so what you gotta remember is that like this box that's coming out with Sisters, that the way they described it is, it's a box to go out to meet their promise of having stuff out for Sisters in 2019, but there's going to be a big release after that, like at some point, down the road. And the reason I think that is significant is, I wouldn't be surprised if they used it as like a pseudo early access thing, and for the people who have the coin to drop on it, giving them a way to do that, basically. And the rest of us who aren't millionaires have to sit around and wait for later. which I know is not super inspiring, but that's probably what I would guess is what's going to happen. Have a whole bunch of limited edition stuff. The people who have been saying, I'll drop everything and buy a Sister's Army right now if it were available, like they're going to have their moment to pony up. But I'm not sure. The UK is basically the "this is fine, dog." Oh, that's not good. Let's see. Does your paints rattle when you shake them? Do you put ball bearing in or something? Yes. Yes, I do. I only did it for the contrast paints because I found with some of them, particularly Apothecary White and Militarum Green, the pigment kind of settles at the bottom. Sorry if that's too loud and it's annoying. I do apologize. Try to shake away from the camera, but yeah, no. Army Painter has a little thing of. I just picked it up on a whim. I'm sure there are cheaper ways to get it than Army Painter stuff, but they have a box set of little ball bearings you can throw inside your paints. And while I was grabbing all the contrast, I was like, you know what? Why not? And now I'm just throwing down some Apothecary White. This particular Goregrunta is going to be like a gray going into black kind of thing. Glass beads are good for it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no matter where you get them, like, I got the box home and I realized, oh, there's way more in here than I thought, and like I'm never going to use all those things, even if I were to throw it in all my paints that I have. Non-contrast paints, I mean. Let's see. Maybe we'll make two of them, the grays looking. Let's see. And put a small hematite bead in mine. I'm gonna use ball bearings because I've had them rust. Yeah, I've heard of them rusting, rusting before. I'm not sure if it's a specific kind of paint or does it. I mean, obviously these are largely acrylics, which is water-based, so that could definitely do it, but depends on how good of a coating they got. Let's see. That's a tough one on the Sisters of Battle. Because it's tough because we don't know what the rest of the line is going to look like. It's like, okay, so is this like a Warcry situation where I gotta hop on this deal because it's a screaming bargain? Like, Warcry was not a cheap box set, but the fact that you got the terrain and the warbands and that kind of stuff, if you liked all the things in there, it's a great deal. Considering how they price their terrain, and considering this is just an expensive hobby, it just is what it is. But we all love it anyway. So like those kinds of considerations, but because we don't know what's coming up later, it's like, well, is this a deal? Will I really use all these units? I don't know. And so that's kind of a weird position to be in that I'm trying to be conscious of. Limited edition codexes are 80. Part of me kind of, I have a twinge of regret at not buying the special edition Auric one. Like, knowing how happy it made me, and then I'm sitting here painting pigs that I never thought I would be, where in 2 weeks ago I was going to get rid of them. I was like, you know, that was one I feel like I could probably have gotten that one. And before I even really thought about it, I'm pretty sure they're sold out. Hoping this ogre tome is dope. Me too, man. Me too. Limited edition codexes are a bit of a scam. Yes, but they look so fancy on your shelf. Of course, I mean, let's be for real skis here. The amount of money we pay for plastic is everything's a lie. Everything's a scam. But it depends. My thing with not buying the collector editions of things more spawns from the fact that things just change very rapidly. Like if I had a special book that really meant something to me, like an army that I had a real attachment to, which, you all know me, that doesn't happen. But like this real attachment to, paying a bit of a premium to have a cool looking thing that I can put on my shelf and that kind of thing, I'm down for it. But when that gets invalidated too quickly, I'm like, no. At least with the Red Queen Collector's Edition, which isn't priced too high above the retail copy, it gets some nice illustrations. Right on. Well, fortunately for GW, and sometimes unfortunately for the rest of us, value is in the eye of the beholder. Because everything is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And there are people who are willing to pay an embarrassing amount of money for all of the Special Sisters stuff because they have been waiting for forever. Let's see. Drop too many fancy things in bodies of water for collector's editions. Oh, that's the saddest story. Let's see. I will certainly be one of those people. It's cool. I love when people are excited about stuff. I mean, I kind of feel that way about the Cities of Sigmar book. I have seen more people just be so flippin' excited about it. About the ways they can build army lists and that kind of thing that I've seen in a long time from AOS fans. I was like, that's awesome. That makes me happy. I know Jack's going nuts over on Reeling One, so he's cranking out like 1,000 lists a day just thinking about it. Ed Sheeran style, thinking out loud. Falling in love with a new army. Definitely excited for anything Ogre, particularly bringing BCR back into play. Yeah. It's now that they've shown how good they are at bringing two factions together. Like, I think like this Ironjaw's book was like, oh, okay, so you can theoretically like bring BCR and ogres together. Like, one gets a new battle tome, the other one gets updated rules, and like I have a lot of confidence that can be a super good book, and that made me super happy. Let's see. Personal hype for AOS has diminished. That's all right. That happens, especially, I don't know, things change. I've had more than a few patrons message me like, "Hey man, sorry, I'm gonna cancel, but I'm just really in the Magic the Gathering right now." And I'm like, dude, go do whatever makes you happy. Like, 110%. Life's too short. Yeah, but it happens pretty commonly. Like people, I find particularly with college, like when I was in high school, I had a lot of interest in 40K, but the second I left for college, I was like, oh, there's not much of a scene here. All of a sudden, it's a lot harder to get to the game store just because of where I was. I've heard that story quite a few times from other folks. 40K hype is up, sweet. Part of me wants to build all those Death Guard I have been laying around. They're cool. I took my Death Guard out for the first time, last Thursday. Me and Buddy Ben played Warcry, and then we played a small, I think it was like 800 points of 40K, but basically it was just to let me start using my models because that helps motivate me to paint. And yeah, I had a great time both games. I mean, he definitely went easy mode on me to let me get my feet under me. Because I mean, I've played the current edition of 40K, but not in a long time and not for very much. And so this just kind of needed to get... honestly, the biggest thing for me was just moving and then having a psychic phase rather than hero phase move. I don't know why that was so hard for my brain to like grasp, but it was embarrassingly hard. Let's see. As someone who is just in general love art, that's amazing. Yeah. That's honestly, that's kind of the thing where I was thinking about these special editions. Like, well, the art cover is cool, but there's not like new art inside. So I was like, nah. But I totally agree. Like the art for these armies is a big draw. The stuff inside Cities of Sigmar in particular has been super fun to look at. Just because I remember having a conversation with Shu from Rerolling Ones when AOS first dropped, right? We're having this conversation, and he's like, you know what I want to know? I want to know what, like, a dispossessed bar looks like. Or, like, what a free guild, like, you know, watchtower looks like. Or a Sylvaneth city. And just kind of the idea of, like, you know, what do the different elements of this world look like? So, I don't know. It's a good point. Never be able to sell my Slanesh army because they're going for at cost. I find that most things appreciate pretty harshly. Telling you, man, buy low, sell high. If I didn't love this army, I'd be very disappointed right now that I didn't already sell them. So what I do is I put Apothecary White down first. And I'm going right over the top sections with Basilicum Gray. And I'm being as messy as I want, because that's how I paint. And so basically what you do is you can basically have it end at some really harsh lines so it looks like a hard transition, and then if you go back and thin down a little bit of Basilicum Gray and put it over where those two colors meet, all of a sudden that harsh line kind of fades and it looks like you spent time blending it. And that's an official 2+ tip. Let's see. Isn't there speculation that Slaanesh is getting hit by the Nerf bat? It's kind of all over the place. I mean, when you say Nerf bat, what the book really just needs is just a second glance at the summoning table, like how much everything costs to summon. So I think it needs a little bit of revision, but I don't think it's going to be like a catastrophic, like... I'm trying to think of a good example outside of just like KO losing the ability to take whatever weapons they want. They don't need a decimation of their rules, just a rejigger. I think that's the technical game development term. Let's see, Blightskrieg, what's been your favorite Battletime lore-wise? Honestly, right now, it is Cities of Sigmar. Like, just the amount of it and the scope, like, it goes all the way back to the Age of Myth, and then it brings them forward into the modern era. I feel like all the cities are really interesting. I mean, that stuff kind of existed in Firestorm, but it hasn't been as, like, succinctly put. The fact that like they all kind of acknowledge that Sigmar's forces are around, but they don't really spend a lot of time talking about it. I mean, Hammerhall does the most, but that's kind of their jam. Yeah, I just think it's just jam-packed with information and world building. I kind of wish they had talked more about like the various like outposts, like I don't know, because they mentioned the fact that, like the cities are spreading out and that kind of stuff. That's awesome, but I would have liked to have seen more information about this kind of like frontier towns and that kind of thing. Because that's where a lot of drama happens, as we know in America from our frontier days, which were full of horror and terrible things, but from that come stories. What's another good one besides that one? I mean, the Stormcast ones have always had a lot of information in them, and that's always been good. Yeah, I think those two are probably some of the best. Flesh Eater Courts is amazing for lore, but it's not really about like, you know, the world of Age of Sigmar. It's about the Flesh Eater Courts, but I think they just have one of the coolest backstories, so that's why that one gets a vote. I think, I'm pretty sure that was actually my first lore video too. That I ever did. I think it was Flesh Eater Courts. I had Jess narrate an opening. She was so cool. Glad you're doing lore video again. Are there any cities from Olgu spoken about in the new book? Nope, it is strictly from Akshi and Girian, because those are the cities that were used in the Firestorm campaign. Which is a bummer, but I'm sure they will get to them eventually. But yeah, I don't know. I tried not to pause too long on doing the lore videos because I know that's what people really like about my channel. Just need a palate cleanser a little bit. Pretty soon though, spoiler alert, in the future, I will be doing another one of my hardcore painting weeks where I just take some time and crank out an army. But mystery for you guys, it won't be for me. It won't be an army for me. It'll be an army for somebody else. Army for Jess confirmed. No, that's not for Jess. But I should do that one day. She likes Night Hunt. Let's see. I'm wondering if they'll add cities in White Dwarf. That'd be really cool. It wouldn't take much, you know. I think that they set it up to be very expandable. Like all the lingo is there. They can even point to other cities like, hey, use these things as a reference point, that kind of stuff. Like not rules wise, but I mean just in general have like references to different things. That'd be cool. I mean like the rules of like it functions like other cities in this book, that kind of thing. Lunch armies were just unconfirmed. Can you do the boars minus the riders? No, the best you can do is the boars with no arms and head. The legs and kind of the base of the torso are attached, unfortunately. So there's not a whole lot of way around that. Shoes Phoenician force is on the way if Doug is painting. No, man, he don't need me. He's been cranking that army. He's doing a great job. Don't need me at all. Plus, I don't paint to shoe standards. He does such a good job. When you see our stuff in person, you look at his and you're like, oh, that guy's a painter. Off to bed. See you. Have a wonderful night. Is you doing good now that it's Eldarin? I have not talked to him quite recently. I know you sent me a picture of him like picking up his battle tome. I don't know. It seems he's doing well. Razor, whatever boar, looks so janky. I was hoping there's another option for Warcry. No, the Pumbaa. Yeah. Yeah, the Pumbaa's a sad Pumbaa. Let's see. But who has the higher sub count? That's right. That's how we settle all of our disputes. But I can't do it too much because if they ever get ahead of me, I don't want to have to do whatever they say. Still working on converting a giant to be part of my unmade. Nice. Start on the weapons. Don't know what I want to do for them. Hooks, blades. I don't know. But I have no doubt it'll be awesome because it'll be a giant themed from the Unmade. You could look at the Cygor Gorgon kit. They got some gnarly looking stabby stab hands, I believe is the official term. Let's see. Are you taking off its face and skin too? That's a good question. What are your commission painting rates? Me? I don't do commission painting. I'm doing it for a friend just to help them out. But my thing with commission painting is if I'm not doing it for myself, I tend to lose motivation very quickly. And I don't ever want to like have someone's models and I'm just like, meh, don't feel like painting. My awkward backward way of doing commission painting is simply to sell whatever I'm painting. So all you got to do is get me excited about an army, let me paint it up, and then be there whenever it eventually all falls apart and I stop playing it. I'm really bummed because I waited till this long to realize I should have painted one of these guys to be a skunk. So I have like the black at the top and it fades into the white. But I should have done it the other way around, or at least for, oh, I have two more. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll make at least one of them a skunk, bro. You hear World Eaters fun, Doug? That is the key. Man, you know what I've been doing lately? Been having a great time with these Tau models. And I'd be like, they don't seem fun, but this guy's really excited about them. Must be something there. Okay. Oop. What's that? Got paint everywhere on my hand. What are you hoping for as far as themes? Hoping as far as themes for units from Tyrion's Light Elves. You know, honestly, I haven't really thought about it much. I'd love to see, you know, the old school High Elf wizard that came in the Island of Blood set, where specifically the wizard who was like leaning forward and like this like mist of magic energy was carrying him. Like he was actually technically flying. I want that. But I want it to be with like these complex geometric shapes that are picking him up, because that's the idea of like logic and geometric patterns and hard right angles and that kind of stuff in Hish. So I want it to be like that. I think that would be really, really cool. If they aren't elves that shoot lasers, I'm out. Fair enough. So let's see, I want that for wizards. I'd love it if it were like a good guy magic focused army. You know, kind of like how we have Zinch for chaos kind of thing. Give me a good guy. I guess we have the Slan, that's fair. As I say begrudgingly. I guess we have the Slan. But I was just thinking like more for the larger forces of order. Geometric laser cannons. Let's see. What else do I want from them? Lots of maybe like a good guy paladin looking version of the Kinerai, where they're like flying and they like bows shooting out, kind of like the what's he called? The Lord Blargy Blarg, the Stormcast guy with a little bird that follows him and he shoots the mega bow. Can't think of his name. It's not Aqualor. That's the only word that comes to my mind right now. Venator? We'll say Venator. Yes, I am the guy who has a lore channel. Night Venator, thank you. Let's see, I find a new fun way to paint. Barrack thing, because I very much just like Screaming Skull. I don't think I remember what their scheme is. I only ever learned Mornar for that brief moment that I was painting KO, and then I played him once, and I was like, "This is not for me." Not because like the rules were bad. I was just I don't think about ranges and shooting, and I like to charge into combat. It's like this was a fun experiment. Let's see, isn't Tornus a Night Venator? Yes, he is. Okay. All right. And these two, I think one's going to be Goregruntas. The other one's going to be a skunk. I want the skunk. All right. I should make one of those like inspiring motivational posters of just me, like with a black and white picture, and then below it says, "I want the skunk." One stripe or two, probably just one big one, and I would probably go with two if it wasn't already so busy and crowded. Like, he has a helmet, he has the rider, he has the butt plate and the sets of armor that go over his rear end, so you're already not going to be able to see a lot of it. So I think if I split it in half, it would be a bit like overkill. You know, you wouldn't necessarily see what I'm trying to go for. Do you ever play Total War Warhammer 2? If not, then why? I do play occasionally, actually very rarely. I own it. I enjoy it. For some reason, I just never think to play games when I'm at my computer. I always seem to just always play them on my PS4. I'm not sure why that is. Like, I just never do. Basically, we're waiting for all these contrast things to dry. And then we'll have to do some dry brushing and junk to get the fur looking just right. Okay. I should do 2-stripe skunk boars on the Maniac boar riders that I have for bone splitters though. And the ones I have right now are all painted, but I can get some more. That's something I talked about a little bit yesterday, and it keeps happening more and more, where it's like the more time I spend with the Warclans book, the more I think that Bone Splitters got a really good end of the deal. Because when I first tried, I was like, oh, okay, well, people who play Iron Jaws are just going to keep on playing Iron Jaws, basically. Big Walls, it's cool, it's whatever. But then as I'm reading it more and more, I'm like, but 30 Bone Splitters would be amazing in this specific situation, that kind of stuff. Let's see. How big are the Bone Splitter boars? Significantly smaller. They're more like traditional calf sized. I don't know the exact base size off the top of my head. Let's see. Contrast is looking damn sharp. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think they're coming together pretty well. So we'll do Black Templar on this one to get the skunk design, and this guy is going to be, what is he? Goregrunta fur. How precise can you get with contrast paint stripes? You know, like, we're doing like one uber white stripe over this guy's back, but if you mean like stripes on like a piece of clothing or something small, I would not use it. If for no other reason, then I'm trying to think how to word this. It's just the pigment is not super intense. Like, I'd rather use like a base paint always when it comes to that kind of stuff, just so I can be sure that, like, when I draw this line, I don't have to go back over it with like 10 different colors to make sure it's like bright enough or strong enough of a color. So I mean, I don't know, I could try it. It would, because the thing is, it's thin enough to flow like off the brush like you would want to do for stripes, but I don't think it's the best way to do that, because it's designed to thin out the second it touches anything and like fall into creases and give you highlights and that kind of stuff, which is not always the best. What all do you have already as far as Iron Jaws or stuff, or for Orc Warclans in general? In general, I have my Iron Jaws army, which is 30 Ardboys, 10 Brutes, Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, Mega Boss on foot, a War Chanter, and a Weird Knob Shaman. And obviously, I'm holding six Goregruntas right here on the table. And then for Bone Splitters, I have 30 more boys that are built, but they're not painted yet, and 10 Boar Boy Maniacs that are fully painted and ready to go. Let's see. Oh no, I'm pigging out. So yeah, that's my war clan so far. And so I was sitting for a while trying to figure out, like, okay, how can I include the Iron Jaw stuff that I have, you know, like with the making the big wall and what kind of list would that be like. And I think there's a list there for the big wall, but I don't think I have the stuff for it. But I think it could be very cool. So for right now, I'm doing mostly iron jaws. Just because it's a little bit more straightforward. You know, I'm still learning the book. I have an event in about 2 weeks, and so not a ton of prep time for a brand new faction for me. So yeah. Just make sure you don't step on anyone's toes or they might squeal. Little details here and there. Cool. Doesn't look like much now, that white stripe, but when it is painted and it pops out a bit more, it'll look really great. I have no doubt. Alright. And then we have this guy. I'm just gonna let you guys have your little pun party over there. Okay. Wonder if Marathi being 2 models might be how they do Tyrion and Teclis. Ooh, I don't know. That's an interesting idea. I mean, I think but the thing about Marathi is like she is simultaneously both of those things, even when she's like a little tiny human person or elf person. She's also like, you just can't see it, but she is also the big snake lady. Whereas Tyrion and Teclis are like 2 distinct units. But regardless, I want them to be on the table. I don't know if they will. I don't know if they're interested in putting too many more gods on the table. Ryan, have you ever tried a wet palette? If so, is it worth it? I tried it once, and I didn't care for it too much, but a lot of people have told me it'll change my life if I try it again, and are very insistent, sometimes aggressively so, that I use a wet palette. So I think there's something to it. It's just I don't know. I never really saw a need. Plus, I didn't knock it over a lot. Let's see. Archeon isn't either. That's one of the things, like, where was I? I was on some... Somebody asked me, like, a podcast or something like that. Like, if you could have them clean one thing up in the lore, what would it be? And so my answer was, like, I want them to really define godhood. Right, what is it? You gotta... Now we have more and more characters, like, that's, like, their goal. And it's like, that's a cool goal. Right? Like, I want to be a god. but it's so ill-defined what that is, because they kind of just use the same blanket term of God to describe a lot of different things, and that's problematic for someone who's trying to like understand. So like they use it for the Chaos Gods and the Good Guy Alliance Gods, like, but they're not the same. Like the Chaos Gods are more of a primordial evil stuff of the universe, whereas the Pantheon is like, no, we were part of the old world. We were finite at one point at least. The gash epitomizes godhood. Okay. I need a Doug face shirt. Want to explain it to people? Oh God, please don't. Okay. He will look cool. How are my gray guys doing over here? Okay. Things are turning up good. So what I'm basically going to do now is do a dry brush on the fur, like picking out a highlight color for each one of them. And then doing the skin of the Goregrunta and all the straps and junk that are attached to them, like that go up to the rider. And I don't really care about highlighting those. That's what contrast is for me. But then I'll hop into doing the rider, which shouldn't take too long. It's pretty simple. It's just basically a brute. Probably spend the most amount of time on the armor and stuff like that, getting the checker patterns I started doing down. And pretty much go from there. So yeah. Anyway, friends, I'm probably going to go ahead and hop off for the night because it's 7:45, and this all needs to dry. Contrast takes a lot longer to dry than normal paint, I find, especially when I do multiple layers like that, where I kind of blend them into each other. It takes forever. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Thank you all so much for a fun chat. Hope you enjoyed the puns aplenty, and we'll be back. Enjoy tomorrow's video, the Cities of Giran, and then I will hop back on. Maybe I'll be on tomorrow night, maybe Thursday, I don't know. Things are kind of crazy at work, so it depends on when I get home. So anyway, I will catch you all very, very soon. Have a wonderful night, and happy wargaming.